So there's a Republican billionaire by the name of Ken Langone. I believe he was the Home Depot guy or something like that. He's made ridiculous statements in the past. For example, I believe he was the guy who compared increased regulations or increased taxes on the rich or on corporations. He compared that to the scapegoating of Jews in the Holocaust. Now, I'm going off memory here. I'm not sure I got that exactly right. By all means, please fact check me. If it wasn't Ken Langone, it was another billionaire douchebag. I'm pretty sure it was Ken Langone. And by the way, he was saying that during the Obama administration when Obama's proposals were incredibly tepid and soft. They're not like FDR's. You know, he was just, the idea of like raising marginal taxes by like 3%. And he's like, oh, I'm basically, the Jews in the Holocaust. Oh, please. Okay. So anyway, this guy was on, I think, CNBC or one of those shitty business networks. And look at what he ends up saying about so-called Democrat Joe Manchin.
We have serious problems in America. I don't know. Look, you know my politics, but I got to tell you right now, I don't see leadership any place in this country. Thank God for Joe Manchin, by the way. Thank God for Joe Manchin. The guy's got guts and courage, and he did what he had to do, and he'll continue to do what he has to do.
He gets covered. A lot of the people probably like they don't have his, I don't know, he's pretty safe in West Virginia, obviously. But
well, I tell you right now, I'm going to have one of the biggest fundraisers. He's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I'm going to have one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever had for him. He's special. He's precious. He's a great American.
So a Republican billionaire is calling Joe Manchin precious and special. And he's saying, I'm going to do a fundraiser for him. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay him back. That's what this is. It is paying him back for tanking the Build Back Better agenda, the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, which had wonderful things in it like paid family leave and elder care and free community college and the child tax credit. And the list goes on of the provisions that polled at over 70%. A lot of the provisions polled at over 80%. A lot of the provisions were popular even among Republicans. This is an elite paying back another elite for running interference for the elites and screwing over working people in the process. That's exactly what this is. He called him precious and special. Now, I ask all of the normal media people who might stumble across this clip, all four of you who might see this. I ask you, do you think it's fair to talk about what Joe Manchin did and is doing in ideological terms at this point? Do you think it's fair? Do you think Joe Manchin is just a principled moderate who has an ideological belief in centrism and that's why he's acting as he's acting, but he's an honorable gentleman? That's not remotely true. The fact of the matter is, Joe Manchin is a paid bitch of the rich. That's what he is. So in other words, he's corrupt. He's been legally bribed. He will continue to be legally bribed. And that's why he acts as he acts. Same thing with Kyrsten Sinema. Took $1 million from Big Pharma. That number keeps going up and up and up, by the way. Every time I look, it's more money. And she used to run on lowering drug prices. Now she's the one who stripped out the provision to lower drug prices in the Build Back Better bill. This is what's going on here. The Intercept had a great article called Joe Manchin's Dirty Empire, where they detail the ways in which Joe Manchin makes millions of dollars from dirty energy. From dirty energy. And then, lo and behold, look at that. He's the guy who sits on the committee that's going to determine the climate change stuff that gets in and out of the bill. And oh, wow, he stripped out all the stuff that was punitive for fossil fuels, and now all that's left is some like tax credits and shit for renewable energy, which is nowhere near enough. So it is not ideological. He's not an honorable gentleman who happens to be a centrist or a moderate. He's, first of all, a conservative Democrat who voted with Trump 50 or 60% of the time, and he only does what he does because he's corrupt. I saw a great tweet from one of the Chapo guys, and it was hilarious. I think about it every few hours and it makes me giggle. There were protesters who were going after Manchin. I don't remember where he was, but they were, protesters were there blocking him when he was in his car. And the tweet was, it's hilarious that the 74-year-old West Virginia senator drives the same car as Moneybag Yo. Because he does. He's driving, I think it was a Maserati or something. He drives a Maserati and he lives on a yacht. And he's acted like, oh, shucks, me? I'm just a West Virginia Democrat representing the working people. The polls out of West Virginia show they are with the Build Back Better bill. They're with the original reconciliation bill. They love all the provisions virtually in that bill. And so you're not representing your constituents. You're not just a West Virginia Democrat. You're a corrupt Democrat. You're a Democrat of by and for the industries that are paying you, and clearly the billionaires as well. I mean, look at this guy is ready to give Joe Manchin a handy. Right? I mean, that's what he's doing. Oh, he's so special. He's so precious. He's so hot. I mean, what? Oh, I love it when you block popular legislation for the American people and give me more tax cuts instead. By the way, the debt concern and deficit concern that Joe Manchin had, it was total bullshit. How do I know that? He voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the worst bill, the semi-corporatist bill, when that added about $250 billion to the deficit. But now all of a sudden he's so concerned about the debt and the deficit when it comes to the Build Back Better bill. If you were concerned about that bill, why did you vote for the original infrastructure bill? Because it has nothing to do with the deficit. He went for that one because some of the corporations wanted that one. The other thing now, they're talking about, oh my God, inflation. Oh my, what are we going to do? There's so much inflation. So what does Joe Manchin do? He goes out there and says, look, I don't know. I mean, I know I gave my verbal agreement and made the deal with you guys about voting for Build Back Better along with the traditional infrastructure bill. Now inflation's out of hand. I think we need to reevaluate this. By the way, inflation has nothing to do with either the previous COVID relief packages or these packages that we're talking about now. Now, you can be forgiven if you thought that. I thought that. But I was wrong. When I talked to economists about it, they made crystal clear. This simply has to do with the supply chain. Full stop. Full stop. So, if you want to find a way to ameliorate the inflation, one thing you could do is ramp up manufacturing and production in the United States. That's actually a solution. So if anything, you could even blame permanent normal trade relations with China and NAFTA and GATT and all these things that gutted the working class in this country. But it is not the spending bills. But Joe Manchin is conflating any spending with now, that's what's leading to inflation. You have hosts on MSNBC blaming higher wages for inflation. That is not true. So the debt concern was bullshit, and now the inflation concern is bullshit. And ultimately, what's the real reason Manchin is doing this? He's doing it because of what you just saw. Billionaires who are like, that's my boy right there, and I'm going to raise money for him, and I'm going to give him money, and he's part of the club. And by the way, keep your eye on Joe Manchin, because whenever he gets out of politics, he's going to get some cushy gig doing Dickie McGee's acts and getting paid for it. We'll get paid $1 million a year, $2 million a year to do nothing, to lobby. And they might even call it by a different name. I'm not a lobbyist. I'm a consultant expert for the legislative process or some shit. That's how the game is played. That's how the sausage is made. Ban that shit. Get the money out of politics. Stop the revolving door immediately. Or else we're always going to be voting from the lesser of two evils. And this is where we're going to be every single time. Joe Manchin is the absolute worst, and this is a clear example of it here. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.